Here we come, blue and white, and we're looking good. You'll be in for a fight, and we fight pretty good. Getting goals is our job, and we get goals good. Looking good, we are Carlisle United.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Brunton Bugle, the number one place to get your Carlisle United fix in the podcast world. I'm Lee Rooney.
And I'm Mike Booth.
And I'm Dan McLennan.
In this episode we look back on two consecutive defeats to drag United back into trouble, look ahead to the games against Rochdale and Port Vale, and we review United's transfer deadline day business as four new faces and one familiar one arrive at Brunton Park.
Nearly.
I just realised I didn't account for the fact that you both had to say your names this week. So I thought I had more time than I did, but there you go. First time we've had all three of us on for a while, isn't it, guys? It's
probably since Christmas, I think.
Yeah, and it's a busy one to cover, isn't it? Because we've got a lot of transfer business to talk about. We didn't think we would after Saturday, the way Keith Millen was talking, but you know.
We didn't think we would at 10:30 on the other night, to be
on
fair.
Monday night,
let everyone know a secret. I've been ill for the first 3 days this week, so I missed the Salford game in the end. And I actually...
You're lucky, sod.
I know. Well, I watched it on iFollow, which wasn't much better, I don't think. And I went to bed at about 20 past 10 on the Monday night, thinking, nothing's happening here. We might get one in, maybe. And then I wake up to find out we've signed 4 players in the morning. So
WhatsApp's on fire, 500 messages.
It genuinely was. I had an absolute ton of notifications of people saying it's going mad here. You're missing out. Well, let's get into it then, guys. 5 in, 2 out on a busy final day of business for the Blues, wasn't it? Low expectations, as we said there, going into the January transfer window, especially on the final day, that I should say, especially after Millen's comments after the game on Saturday. You felt like he didn't think we were going to get anyone in, maybe 1 or 2 if we were lucky, but we ended up with 5 on the final day. It's really freshened up the squad, I think it's fair to say, lads. We'll go into
especially at the top end.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's, ironically, is now not an issue, whereas the other end of the pitch is looking a bit. So, just the way it is. Let's talk about the outs first, then, shall we, guys? 2 out. The big one first, Zach Clough.
Broken by me, who was casually returning a couple of Salford tickets for 2 pals.
Definitely weren't in the car park all day watching the comings and goings.
I can't tell you that because I've got that many hidey holes that they might find me.
Yeah, hiding in the bushes with his binoculars as usual.
Yeah.
So just the transfer's not worked out, isn't it, Mike? It's a bit of a disappointing one, this one, isn't it? How it's ended in the end.
Yeah, it was the marquee summer signing, wasn't he? Just we never really knew how to fit him in, really, is that sort of number 10 under Beach, and which sort of begs the question again with Jamie Devitt, who obviously we brought in, who we'll touch on later, but he is another who is better in that sort of number 10 role.
Maybe, but then he's used to playing at this level as well. That's the difference, isn't it? Whereas Clough wasn't, and that became fairly clear early on. I mean, he got off to a bad start, didn't he, Dan, with that opening day, pulling out in the warm-up, having played so well in pre-season with Abraham especially, and he just never got going, did he? He never looked like he was going to get going either.
He's been very stop-start. He's had injuries, he's had niggles. He would have a good game, then he'd have 2 bad ones, and he'd be injured. And it's I mean, a couple of weeks back, everyone was saying, "Christ, we've got him for 2 years. This could be a bit of a boon on us." But no, I think it's the right move. If he'd gone to another English club, there'd maybe be a little bit of resentment, possibly. But the fact that it's not been officially announced, but he's expected to sign for Adelaide United in the next couple of days. I think with it being Australia, people are sort of like, well, he came, it didn't work. Best of luck to him.
I've heard reports that apparently his family are moving out to Australia. That's influenced the decision, and you can't blame him. It's a great opportunity for the lad, and I think he's looked at him for, my career's stagnated in England. I need a fresh start. Move away.
Look at Jack Rodwell. He's moved down under, and he scored the winner for his team. So it was the first goal the other day, and you're like, well, and I watch a bit of the A-League on a weekend morning if I'm up early, and I think it'll suit Clough to the ground because it's not fast paced. he'll have time on the ball. I think he'll do well. I do.
Yeah, well, Macaulay Gillespie's another great example, isn't he? He's gone out there, he's totally rejuvenated his career, and he's a key man for Plymouth Argyle these days in League One. So
Tom Aldred's still there.
yeah, I think he's a little bit older, and he's just loving it, isn't he? I think
Yeah,
it's just a new life for him. So yeah, he leaves after 3 goals from 23 appearances in all competitions. I mean, 2 of those in 17 in the league. It's not a great return in the end, really. And yeah, that
to be fair to both 17, how many would actually start compared to sub appearances?
Not many. It's one of those ones you do look and wonder what would have happened if he hadn't pulled up in the warm up of that game against Colchester. But at the same time, you also look and think that's half the problem with him, isn't it?
Yeah, I've just pulled it up there. He started 10 and came on as sub 7 times in the league.
Well, there you go.
For me, the standout memory for me will always be the hand of God that he scored at Hartlepool that was rightly ruled out. It was just ridiculous.
Well, when he got that goal against Hartlepool, we thought, right, this is him starting out now. He's going to get going. And it just never happened, did it? And I just don't think he ever coped with the physicality of this league, did he? And it was, like I said, it just an opportunity for him to start again. So good luck to the lad and hope it goes all well for him down under. Second one out. This one wasn't actually really announced by the club, was it? It was Keith Miller let it slip in his interview, and it was announced officially the next day. Manny Mampala, he's got himself a loan move to the National League with Weymouth until the end of the season. Decent move for him, this dad, actually, isn't it? But better than I expected, if I'm honest. I thought National League North or South, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see him. I'm going to be brutal. I don't think we'll see him in a Carlisle shirt again. I don't mean that harshly. I just, he's a London area lad from memory.
He's not from Leeds originally, I think, possibly. I think he's lived down in QPR. He was been at QPR, hasn't he?
He's been in QPR, so he's done London, and he just reeked of National League, sort of a Dagenham or Weymouth's a perfect club. He just not good enough for me.
Yeah, he never quite looked like he was going to start games, did he? I mean, it's all right doing it in a pre-season friendly against Everton under 23s and things like that, but it's a big difference when you get to league level, isn't it? And he's travelling down the Raffinade Highway, isn't he, to go to Weymouth and follow the same path. And
I think, didn't Nade score like 10 and 10 for them or something?
It was something, 10 and 21 maybe, something like that. He basically, he was one of their top scorers, and he's one of the few players to have won 2 league title medals in the same season. And he returned to play the final game of the season for us. So it's not as if he had stayed at Weymouth either. So fantastic. But yeah, good luck to Manny. Like I said, it never quite worked out. Made his debut for them in the midweek 1-1 draw with local rivals Yeovil Town. Played like pretty much the full 90 minutes. I think he was subbed.
Yeah, for about I think it was about 83 minutes or something. I had a look.
Right.
Certainly most of the game.
Yeah, and he got good reviews. Their fans were saying that he put a really good shift in. So maybe it's just what he needs. He needs to drop to that level, get himself some game time, and build his career up.
Keith Millen said he needs to play games, and he's got the opportunity there. And I think he'll quite suit the. I watch a lot of football, obviously, but I do watch your National League game on BT, and it can be quite an aerial league at times. And
he's a big lad.
Yeah, he's a big lad. I think it'll suit him. And no, best of luck to him.
Yeah, so good luck to Manny on his move. Let's move on to the ins then. Now, guys, first up, Mitchell Roberts arrives on loan until the end of the season from Birmingham City. He's a young left-back. He had a loan spell at Harrogate Town last season. Only played 4 times, though, due to injury. I think he played early on for them, didn't he? And then he didn't feature much after that. I think he's only played 1 first-team game for Birmingham City themselves, but they have extended his contract by another year because he was out of contract at the end of the season. So they clearly must think something of him. Just a bit of extra cover at the back, isn't it, really, as much as anything, I think? It's fair to say. Nothing much more to add on that one, Dan.
Yeah, Jack Harmon's had a free run at left-back, hasn't he? Unless he's injured, he plays. And we could see when Senior came in, Mellor upped his game till he got his unfortunate injury. And I think the idea is Harmer will think, oh, well, this lad's at Birmingham like I was at Preston, he must be half decent. He's obviously a challenge. I'll have to up my game, and let's see what he does. I don't think he'll feature too much, but depends.
Yeah, it may well be that Miller might look at it, Mike, and he might think, actually, I fancy giving this lad a run. Sometimes just putting a fresh face in there does help, doesn't it? I suppose.
There was a little period last season where I think Armour got rested for 2 or 3 games, and he came back that little bit sharper again. So we could see that sort of scenario play out.
I think Roberts was the only one on the bench against Salford, wasn't he? I'm guessing
he was the only one signed by noon.
Registered in time. Yeah.
It's a bit daft that. With it being transfer window, you would think they would make an exception and say if you get signed by 11 o'clock, you can play. But no, you had to be done by noon. I mean, to be fair, there were rearranged games. It wasn't a proper match day.
Yeah.
But
I think that the National League has different rules, doesn't it? I think it's midday on the day of the game.
Because Mampala played, obviously. So
it's a strange one, that one. Just looking there, actually, lads, I didn't realise Jack Armour's still 20. He doesn't turn 21 until April, so...
People forget that
lad.
with him.
He's a young lad, isn't he? Yeah, fair enough. Fair dues.
But he's doing it right, getting games,
Oh, exactly. And I'm sure he'll still be a great footballer for us. Next up, this one was a bit of a surprise, wasn't it? I think it's fair to say. All right, do I go for his given name that he uses? Or am I going for his full name?
You do his football name. I'll do his full name.
Right. His football name that he goes by is, of course, is Toby Show Silver, who's signed for an undisclosed fee from Sutton United on an 18-month deal. Dan, you're going to have a crack at his full name, aren't you?
His full name is Oluwatobi Fabian Shobawale Akintunde Show Silver.
Getting a banner done with that. 100% getting a banner done with that.
As a man who likes value for money, I'm going to pay 20 quid and get that on the back of my shirt.
Brilliant stuff, isn't it? But yeah, really interesting sign, this one, isn't it? Because I've heard a few people say, it reeks of a panic last minute, signing him just because he was available. But actually, Millen did say in his interview, didn't he, that he's someone they've been tracking for a while, but they didn't think they were going to get him. And it's one of these ones, it happens sometimes, doesn't it? It just comes up and clubs go, well, actually, yeah, if you want him, you can have him, although we've had to pay a fee. Reportedly, I've heard it's only about 20k. But, it's a gamble sometimes, these sort of signs.
When you look at the clubs he's been at, I think Millen will have seen him at some point in his career and made a note of him.
Yeah.
He was at Charlton, been at Welling a couple of times, Bromley, Dover, Chelmsford, Margate, Sutton. The one interesting one that stands out when he started at Charlton, he actually had a loan spell at Inverness Caledonian Thistle, which sort of shows that travel clearly doesn't bother the lad,
Well, but it's interesting, something to point out that we spotted from his Instagram. A reason why he might have spent quite a bit of time playing in non-league rather than going professional is that he's actually got a degree from Cambridge University.
Indeed.
Graduated in 2018, so that would sort of fit in with him leaving Charlton and maybe doing a degree rather than going full-time, possibly. I might be wrong on that. It might be
no disrespect to the rest of the squad, but that probably makes him the cleverest in there.
wouldn't take much of some, I think. No, that's rude, I'm sorry. But no, yeah, the feedback, he's a really good lad, isn't it? It seems to me. The guys from the Gandemonium blog that we spoke to earlier this season on the pod, I asked them, so what's he like? We couldn't really judge him from the 12 minutes he was on in the game at Brunton Park the other day. And then they said, he's a decent lad, really nice to talk to, really refreshing, really loves playing football for the club. And, he's not going to score bucket loads of goals, that's fine. But, he's a good foil, a good physical presence, and he's got a decent free kick on him too. Although I think he might be competing with someone else for those free kicks, possibly going forward. We'll have to wait and see on that one.
He comes across to me as possibly a Derek Holmes, Jamie Proctor type. I don't think he'll score loads.
Yeah.
But I think he'll bring a lot into play with his hold up and his heading.
Yeah. I think he's one of the ones who might do a little bit better than you expect. What do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. I mean, because for me, and the time that this sort of signing happened, I thought, is that it? That's the striker. Do you know what I mean? That we've been waiting for. His CV doesn't read the best, but it seems that he offers something different. And even if he's not starting games, if we need to go a bit more direct for the last 10, 20 minutes or so, he's someone who can, ruffle a few feathers and cause a few problems and offer something that we don't really have. Obviously, we'll go on to the other strikers that we have signed. So he's not we're not putting all of our eggs in his basket, are we?
No, I'm putting my neck on the line here. I think he'll be a really popular player. I think he'll be there's something about him. I don't know what it is, but I think the fans will take to him well. And
The heir apparent to Jabbo.
could well. I was thinking about that because his name scans quite well with the "Oh Jabbo Beer," isn't it? Oh Toby Show Silver. Get that going at Rochdale on Saturday. Yep, well, I'm gonna have a go anyway. But no, good luck to the lad coming in, and it's a big move, isn't it? Moving himself all the way up north, so hopefully it's going to work out. Next up, a loan signing. I think this is one that a lot of people look at and saying squad player, aren't they, Mike? I think they're looking and thinking he's not someone who's going to play every game, is it? Owen Windsor signed on a half-season loan from West Brom.
The question is for me, and I said it when we signed Omotoye, and to be honest, it's looking like Omotoye is kind of out the picture now. It's it's with the additions that we've made, it's looking like Millen's realised that he's not actually very good. But for me, senior was the bar for these loaney sort of strikers, and is this lad going to be better? He scored a few goals at sort of youth level, but that means absolutely nothing to me because we've seen that
so did
before.
Brad Young, didn't he?
Well, so did Elias Sorensen. It means nothing. We'll see if he comes and he's hungry. Good luck to him. But
he had a good game against us for Grimsby, didn't he, Dan? A couple of years ago, I think, when he was on loan there.
Who hasn't had a good game?
True, isn't it? But he's not played many games. He's not scored many goals. But by all accounts, he's one of these players who coaches seem to really like, but don't seem to use that much, do they?
Do you think he was one that was signed in case?
Possibly.
A little bit of that.
Maybe it's one of those ones. I think, like Mike said, I think they maybe looked at Omotoye and think we need something a bit more here in case he can't actually step up. So,
I almost feel like the next one that we're going to talk about, if we'd signed him earlier in the day, would we have maybe signed Windsor? I don't know.
Maybe still. You might have thought we just need to get bodies in here. Maybe I wonder if they're looking at probably to get Fishburne out on loan.
I think that's going to happen. I think that's going to happen. Yeah,
which is a smart move. I think really.
He's not going to play now, is he?
No, not really. So the other point about Windsor is I noticed the fact that he went to Newport on loan in January, start of last January, and he actually left the club before the window had even shut. He only played one game, which kind of makes you wonder, is there an issue there with him maybe, or maybe just because he wasn't getting games? I don't know. It's an odd one, that one. As you mentioned, Mike, this is the next big one, and Dan, I'm guessing this one might be someone who you spotted on one of your Scottish lists, even though he isn't Scottish himself. Christian Dennis signed on a free transfer from St Mirren on an 18-month deal. I think everyone's looking at this and thinking, you know what? This is actually a really good and smart signing, isn't it?
Well, he's experienced. He knows how to score goals. What's he doing at Carlisle United?
I know, it's a weird one, isn't it? It's one of those ones, I think, fans have been crying out, we need a goal scorer. You've got to be realistic about where we are in the league and players are going to want to come to us. I think this is probably about as good as we could have hoped for in terms of getting a goal scoring, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't really scored on a prolific basis for maybe like 2 or 3 years, has he? But, as far as, Carlisle attracting proven goal scorers goes, it's probably as good as we can realistically hope for. He's done non-league, he's done Scotland, he's certainly up for the rough and tumble of it, unlike some sort of young loan players. We'll see.
It's a few years ago, he scored 19 goals in League Two for Chesterfield, didn't he? Including a goal against us in the game down at Chesterfield, I think in the 2017-18 season, I seem to remember. I think I was at that game. And actually, in fact, I watched the YouTube highlights back of that earlier today, and it's a good header actually scored in that game too. But like you said there, Mike, he's done the non-league sort of Cheshire circuit, I think you'd say, Dan, wouldn't you, really, ones he's done. Stockport, he started out at Macclesfield Town. He left them, had loan spells at Ashton United and Woodley Sports, went to Woodley Sports permanently, which is, I think that's Simon Hackney's old club.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Went to Mossley, Curzon Ashton.
He really took off at Curzon Ashton.
Yeah, Stockport didn't quite work out as well as he did. I mean, he did okay there, actually.
Yeah.
But I think he fell out with the management there, didn't he?
Went to Macclesfield on loan, didn't he?
Had a brilliant season for them in the National League. Got his move to Chesterfield, had a great season for them. And then I think he just basically ended up at Notts County, didn't he? And it didn't quite work out at the start for him there, but he picked up a bit. And I think they again wanted to keep him, but St Mirren came in with an offer, I'm guessing fairly decent money, and hasn't quite worked out there in terms of injuries and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, for me, he's going to have to start this weekend. I don't think there's any doubts about that, is there? Really,
He starts, and he's from memory, he's a hard-working bugger as well.
Yeah, and he scores different
as in
goals.
he will run all day, sort of thing.
If you watch some of the compilations of his goals when he was in Notts County, especially, he scores all kinds of goals, doesn't he? Goals from distance, headers, tap-ins. You know, he's a kind of just the kind of goal scorer we haven't had for a while. So
it's always telling as well. One thing I always do when we sign a new player is I'll go on Twitter and look for the club he's leaving, their tweet to say he's leaving, and you read the replies, and a lot of the replies to that were fans quite gutted to see him leave, which is always a good thing. Good thing to see.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's move on to save the best till last. The one that there was sort of murmurings about, wasn't there, Dan? I think it's fair to say, about a former player coming back, and obviously the man turned out to be Jamie Devitt. He had his contract cancelled by Barrow, and then he signed for us on a free transfer until the end of the season. I've heard reports that Barrow didn't know he was coming to us, and basically they paid up his contract because he told them he had a move lined up somewhere else, and then obviously shipped up at Brunton Park again, and he doesn't really need much of an introduction, does he, Dan? I think it's fair to say.
No, not really. I would like to have been a fly on the wall when Mr. Holdsworth spoke to him. As there was whisperings that they weren't the best of pals, but they've clearly brushed that aside to get the deal done.
I mean, he had a brilliant record in his first spell, especially after his first season, which was a bit hit and miss. The second and third season were outstanding, really, in terms of goal scoring and just his all-round play and assists. Hasn't worked out for him since he left us, Mike. Is that fair to say? I think with his injuries, he's not barely played at all, hasn't he?
Definitely, but I mean, at first I thought this deal it's just sort of to like appease the fans, and you know, he's kind of a bit past it. But you think about it, you know, this deal till the end of the season, he's playing for his career. You know, if this deal doesn't work out, he'd probably just that'll be it for him as a Football League player. So he's really sort of, you know, putting his career on the line with this move, and fingers crossed it pays off, and you know he scores some goals and looks a good player, and maybe earns himself another year next year.
My bold prediction with this is if he doesn't work out for us with him, he'll end up AFC filed next season, I reckon.
Or back in Ireland. I
mean, unlikely because he's quite settled with his family in Manchester, I think.
True.
So I think AFC filed makes sense because Jim Bentley's there, isn't he? And he knows him from
You actually forget that he actually signed for Blackpool.
Yeah.
From us.
Yeah. It's crazy.
You know, and he just didn't play for them because he went to Bradford on loan, injured, went to Newport, played a little bit, and then joined Barrow, and that was it.
Well, the thing with Blackpool was he signed, didn't he? He was signed by the previous manager. He then got sacked like a week later, and Simon Grayson basically came and said, I don't like you. And basically said, I'm not going to pick you, so find yourself a new club. So a bit shit luck really for him in that sense. But, I mean, we all know what he's capable of. I mean, in terms of what he adds to the team,
you can take a set piece.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's going to be actually having someone taking corners and free kicks who's any good. He's going to be good.
Will he though, or will Callum Guy not let him?
I don't think Callum Guy's going to have much choice for a while, is he? Because he's not going to be in the team probably with injury.
True.
But yeah, no, he had so much quality in terms of that. Even his passing, his shooting from distance, and it's just about keeping him fit. That's all it's about, really, isn't it? Keep him fit and get him on the field. Because I know you mentioned before, Mike, he plays the number 10, but actually he played a lot of his career for us in a three-man midfield, as a centre midfielder, and playing deep. And even though he's a flair player, he puts a tackle in. I mean, he's sent off about 2 or 3 times.
He puts graft in for that kind of player, which you don't see too often.
Yeah.
And certainly the last spell that he was with us, it was one of them like, what is he doing in League Two?
Yeah.
You know,
it was no surprise when he went to Blackpool, really, was it?
No.
In the end. Yeah. Frustrating, but not a surprise. But yeah, so I think that's one that basically makes sense on the deal it was. If it was an 18-month deal, I think everyone would be looking thinking, that's a risk. That's a real risk. With this, I think you look and you think, he's probably not going to be on a huge wage because you imagine he's maybe had some sort of payout from Barrow possibly. But yeah, I think it makes sense. Quick roundup then overall. Happy with the business, lads? Dan first?
I'll tell you in a few weeks.
Come on. You got to have a little bold prediction now.
Playoffs.
playoffs. God, don't start that, because some people started that a few weeks ago and it looks a bit daft now. Mike, what do you think? What's your thoughts on it?
I'm not convinced. Like, I think some of them look all right on paper, but I'm not convinced that the squad that we've left the window with is better than the one that we entered the window with. Because I think like Clough and Senior were sort of decent players, and we've lost them. Have we replaced them with better quality? Only time will tell.
No, it's a fair point. Just frustrating it's gone down to the last day. I think it's okay, the work we've done, but again, there's a few gambles in there, and that's why I'm sort of. I'll be honest with you, I'm like with you, Dan. I am on the fence about it. We need to see. We've got this tough run of games coming up. See how we come out of that, and then maybe we'll be happy with it. You never know. We were going to do a Unit 40 update, but we're running quite low on time today, aren't we, guys?
I'll do one very quickly. We had our first open meeting. Two of the trust came along, Billy and Malcolm. We thank them for that. There was probably about 64 altogether in the hour and a bit we were there, maybe 40 at one point. Good open discussion. If you go on to the Unit 40 socials or the thread on the message board, you'll see a roundup of it. But there's been at least 130 new members joined, which is a great initial start. The Trust are planning a members meeting shortly. I think they've got a board meeting next week, and then they'll hopefully announce it. And we would just say, as many of you who are members, get down, because change don't happen if you keep quiet in the corner.
Absolutely. And we've got some leaflets going to be handing out very soon, aren't we?
Yeah, we've got a lot of leaflets done, so keep an eye out for the chaps handing them out at Rochdale, definitely. I can't make Rochdale this week, but I know you're going, Lee, and one or two others are. So.
Yep, definitely. Cool. Right, let's move on to the match reviews then. We'll try and run through these fairly quickly because we want to get into the preview sections. I don't think there's much doubt now, is there, lads? We're well and truly back in a relegation battle. Not that we ever really got away from it, but we pulled ourselves a little bit clear. But that's a couple of abject performances really bring into stark contrast the lack of quality and confidence in the Blues squad right now, doesn't it, Dan?
I think Keith Millen was looking for a bit of a reaction against Sutton and didn't get it.
No.
To be brutally honest. Sutton controlled the game, and once the second went in, the ground knew we weren't, a miracle when maybe you got a point, it was just a very meh type of game, wasn't it?
I think we only had 2 shots on target in the Sutton game, didn't we? I think Guy and, in fact, 3 would be actually technically. Guy had a long-range shot that was saved. Gibson had one long-range shot saved, and there was the header from Mellish that was blocked just in front of the line. But, yeah, I mean, I think the most frustrating thing is that neither Sutton or Salford put in stunning performances. But that is the big problem. They didn't have to in either game.
Organised.
They're well organised. Once they got the leads, they're like, right, that'll do us.
Sutton especially more. I mean, Sutton were more impressive than Salford. Salford beat us, but I don't rate them.
No, I wasn't overly impressed with them.
There's better teams in this league. Sutton, they've sort of kept most of the squad that came up, as we discussed last time, and they just know the jobs and they do it well. There's some big, strong lads. You don't get much out of them. Richie Bennett was superb for them. There's a sentence Carlisle fans never thought you'd hear.
Well, you know what? We were saying in the paddock, I was talking with Greg and the lads around us, and I said to them, I'd have Richie Bennett back in our team today, based on what I've seen. Yeah. He was, he might not have been a massive goal threat, but tell you what, he put himself about. He linked the ball really well. He was, no big issues with his performance. Certainly much more of a presence than anyone else we've had in the attack this season, really, wasn't he?
Very Derek Holmes-esque, I thought.
Yeah, just done his job, basically. So frustrating. I mean, you didn't go, Mike, but I mean, you've seen the highlights from the 2 games. I mean, it can't be too impressed with what you've seen.
No, I think if these rumours are true that Simeo has to play, that's very concerned for me. Cause
I don't think that's true.
I think there's I don't think there's necessarily a clause in there, but I think they've always been told, he'll play as much as he can.
Because because I think Feeney can feel a bit hard done by. All right, he made a couple of mistakes, but it wasn't like consistently playing poorly. He just made a few mistakes at key points in some games. But
Feeney came on Tuesday and he was our best defender for me.
Yeah, I think he had a good game, to be fair. In fact, the pair of them played okay together against Salford, what I saw on the telly. But
well, Feeney's a talker, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know, and
I was
having
just gonna
a
mention
young
that.
lad needs a talker alongside him, really.
yeah.
Rod McDonald, it's for his experience, he's not a shouter, is he?
No, he just quietly gets on with his game, really, doesn't he? That's the way he plays. Let's talk about the goals from the Sutton game then. Olaofe, on loan Millwall strike. I mean, he couldn't have been in his luck, surely.
Yeah.
I mean, Dinel Simu, sorry. Cross comes in from the left and he headed it straight at him.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's thinking with a head like that. Try and head it behind or head it away. Head it straight out to the edge of the box with no height on it. He had time to take a touch and drill the ball. And I don't know. In real time, I felt Howard probably could have done a bit better with it. You're a bit higher up, Dan, than me, obviously, up in the B stand, so you might have had a different view. I think he might have been slightly unsighted by Simeo, which wasn't really Simeo's fault. He had to sort of stand there and try and block
possibly
it.
a little bit, but you know, the lad was left. Just I'll take him a touch, bang, game, goal. So
And then the second goal, Ajiboye, I think is that how you pronounce it. Again, it's a slack defending, isn't it?
Yeah.
Richie Bennett gets the ball 30 yards from goal, plays a through ball to the lad, and Simeo's caught a little bit napping. He actually does get back, but I don't know what he's trying to do. He's trying to shield the man. I'm like, he's about 8 yards from goal. Get a blocking or get a tackling. He basically gave him time to hit
maybe
it.
what he's used to from under 23s football.
He's got to learn quickly, hasn't he?
Yeah.
That's the problem, because he was too standoffish on that. He was really, really poor. I mean, Howard didn't have any chance in the end because the lad had so much time to get his shots away. Frustrating, actually, because we could have equalised in between, couldn't we, Dan?
Yeah, it was a great ball. Who put the cross in again? Patrick, yeah, it was a great ball across. It absolutely whistled across, and it was one of those where you're like, that was superb. And Armour met it lovely. It just, the post was in the way. If we were a top 6 team, it'd have broke the net.
It's one of those ones, isn't it? He'd done as much as he could to get it back across goal.
Yeah.
It was a difficult angle. He couldn't really do much more. Frustrating.
That's it for me, though. It seems to be a bit of a running trend, is that we have these sort of results and defeats and stuff, and there's key moments where you think, if we'd have got the goal there, it's not necessarily that we're not creating, it's that we fail to do the right things, or we do the wrong things at where we're defending at key moments, and that's what's killing us at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. So really frustrating. I mean, Sutton. Dan, I think it's fair to say Sutton could have been 4 or 5 up at half time and we couldn't have complained. It was maybe not quite as bad as the game down at Sutton, but
well, I was just going to say we've played them twice and both times have been more than worthy of the 3 points. So they're up there for a reason.
Exactly. Onto the Salford game. Obviously, I didn't go to this one. I watched it on iFollow. You went, Dan. In terms of the goals in this one, penalty scored. I mean, maybe a little bit of a soft decision. I mean, it's one of those ones, isn't it? He's not by his side. It's out, isn't it? So,
did you know it was apparently Salford's first penalty of the season?
Was it?
Yeah.
I saw something that Billy Barr apparently said
Don't
to Gary
mention that now,
Bowyer. Apparently he said to Gary Bowyer, "We're going to get a penalty against Salford tonight." So I'm suggesting that the FA should investigate Billy Barr for match fixing, maybe. See what's going on there.
I think it's one of them. If we didn't get a penalty for that, we would have been pretty miffed off about it. So, yeah.
Can't really grumble. Well taken by Watson, but I mean, you will have had a different angle to me for this, Dan. And I've tried to see if Salford have got any other footage, but I can't find any. I feel like Howard should save it.
I think he should have got it. I think he's gone too low.
I think he's gone with T-Rex arms almost, hasn't he? He's not really stuck his arms out.
It wasn't massively high, and where we were stood, we had a great view of it, and we were looked at each other and sort of went, could you maybe have got that?
Yeah.
It was maybe the pace of it. It was maybe, it was walloped in,
He's almost anticipating it to go a bit more central.
Yeah.
But actually, he's dived wide enough and he could have stopped it. So I think he'll be frustrated about that, probably, Howard. And then the one occasion in the full 90 minutes that I watch at least, Dan, you might have looked at it differently, that we actually played a bit of football instead of hoofing it. We scored a goal. Nice little move down the left. Gibson linking up with Alessandro, set him away. Few claims of offside, but if you watch it back, the lad in the middle plays him on, actually. Yeah. And he gets away, Gibson, into the box, low ball in, and Patrick is on hand to tap it into the net. And
good goal, wasn't it?
It was a good goal. And you look and you think, why don't we do more of that? We've been playing some passing football from the back under Millen at first, but we just seem to have reverted over the last few weeks to just lumping it on every occasion now. And really frustrating, that, really. And
that's one thing that's frustrating me is, like, we sort of almost look like we want to pass it out, and we'll pass it along the back 3 or 4 times, and then we'll lump it. And it's like, if you're going to lump it, you may as well just lump it in the first place. Like, you know, cut out the 3 or 4 passes. If you want to play football, then play football, you know.
Well, let's talk about that then now. It's the Keystone Cops defending for Smith's goal, Dan. And this was just comical at times, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, Feeney got his head on it and cleared it to Dickinson, and I don't think he'd know now if he thought what he was trying to do. You know, it was just...
It looked to me like a very tired swing of someone who's not playing with very much confidence at all at the moment. He doesn't look like he's happy, does he? He doesn't look like he's enjoying playing, and it's one of those things he probably knows now that he's probably going to get dropped after this game. I don't think there's much doubt about that, because I imagine Patrick will switch back to left wing. But he just looked a bit... I don't know why he's not just swinging a right boot and booting it, even if it goes out for a throw-in nearby.
Yeah.
It's better than putting it into the danger.
To sort of, you know, rearrange yourselves.
Yeah, so he went straight to a Salford play. He spreads out wide. Cross comes in, and I know Smith's a big experienced striker, but I think Simeo should do better on it. He's heading it at pretty much below 6 foot. And, you know, he's about 6'7", Smith, isn't he? I don't get why. I think it's a very big learning curve for Simeo, isn't it? And we'll touch on his performances in a minute. But I feel it's one of those ones with, you know, all round defending, we should be doing better, shouldn't we?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's basics. We had so many opportunities to get rid of it. It's hard to just pin it on one player for not clearing it, because there's a few that had the opportunity.
Yeah, barely threatened after that. I think Patrick's goal was our only shot on target, and then the last couple of minutes of injury time infuriated me, because again we were trying to do that thing, pass it across the back 4. Instead of just sending one of the centre backs forward and just lumping it, I just don't get why we didn't do that. It was just baffling. Let's get on to some sort of general comments now then, lads. I mean, first up, the free injury against Salford. I mean, it is rotten luck, to be fair, that, isn't it? It's to have free go off in the first half and then be defensive players as well.
Yeah. Not
really positions you want to make any subs generally. It's just one of those ones you look back and you think, it's probably not going to be our night.
It also meant that second half we had no change.
No, yeah.
You know, there was no chance of getting a change, especially in the attacking third sort of thing, to sort of mix it up a little bit. But, you know, just one of them things, can't be helped. It's the first time I can remember it happening for a long while.
I don't remember 3 going off in the first half for us ever. I remember 2 going off in the first half for us before with injuries. But I don't remember 3, so that was quite a surprise, wasn't it? And when seeing his injury did not look good, did it, Dan? I mean, you'll have seen it a lot closer.
He went down first time, and he looked gingerly after that. So when he went the second, it was, you know, and obviously he'll probably have a bit of swelling and waiting for it to go down before they scan him. But it wouldn't be the biggest surprise if we maybe didn't see him again this season.
No, I'd be amazed if we did, to be honest.
Yeah.
Rod McDonald, just unlucky again. Matt Smith landed on top of him. And he tried to play on, didn't he, for the next 5 minutes, and you could tell he was struggling, and he's done the right thing coming off instead of making it worse. And Callum Guy's one, I think he just tried to turn to win a tackle at one point, and something went, and then
it was
again,
hamstring.
He tried to play on, didn't he, and just couldn't carry on. So frustrating. Moving on to a point, Omatoya. It's a tough learning curve for him. Quite rightly dropped after the Sutton game for me. Didn't do enough, and with the new additions, as you said, Mike, I can't see him playing much for the rest of the season, to be honest. He might be a sub that's used occasionally, but it doesn't look good for him.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit torn with the new signings, thinking is he maybe going to go sort of a 4-3-3 kind of thing? But I think maybe with the injury to Guy and sort of Senior, like we don't really have the midfielders to play three in the middle right now. So we might have to stay 4-4-2. But yeah, where is he in the pecking order for our strikers? Probably fourth, fifth now?
If not, to be honest, yeah.
Dennis, Shaw, Silva and Alexander are all ahead of him, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, arguably Wilson might be as well if he comes in and does okay.
I think they're going to share sub appearances between them, depending on opposition and how games are going.
Yeah, I mean that's the way I see it. Simiyu, thoughts on his debut, guys? I mean, I've made a few notes here. I mean, I thought he looked good early on against Sutton, but I mean, he's clearly a big physical lad, but he got a bit of a rude awakening about what league football's about, didn't he, Dan?
Yeah, Sutton game, he'll be remembered for the mistakes that led to goals.
Yeah.
You know, a bit harsh, but that's League Two football.
Yeah.
Salford, I think when Feeney was beside him, he looked a bit better, but as we just said, for the goal, maybe not so much learning curve for him. But, you know, as a big lad, he's got to learn how to use that physicality and, you know, if you have got a Matt Smith type, you know, get in amongst them. You know, they'll love it. You know, you're a big lad, get stuck in. I mean, we can't afford Mike, can we, to let him learn on the job, really, can we?
No.
You know, in the situation we're in. And I think there maybe needs to be a question of Millen, maybe, about breaking up a defence that had done so well after the Forest Green game. I mean, we got beat comfortably by Forest Green, but they're a very good side.
Forest Green then went to Tranmere and scored 4 in the following game.
Yeah,
exactly.
And
Tranmere got an incredible defence.
Exactly, yeah.
So
exactly. So like you say, you know, our defence was looking settled and it was looking all right, and to disband that is just a bit weird. But it wasn't just the defence, to be fair. It was sort of playing Guy and Whelan both as centre mids. I think helped the defence as well, which we've since stopped doing.
Well, that brings us quite nicely on there. A nice little segue, Mike, to the next point. I mean, John Mellish. I mean, we are big fans of John's on this pod. We love his work, right? And, you know, what he does for the team when he's playing well. But surely it's time for the management to realise and accept that he doesn't work in midfield too.
Yeah.
And continuing to play him in there as well. For all the running he does and all the aerial challenges he wins, it's just dragging us down. And I imagine it's probably denting his confidence. And especially with the goals having dried up now, Dan, it's almost like you need to give him a break because he and just take him out of the team for a bit, don't you?
Yeah, he doesn't work in a 2. As a 3, pushed up, yes. But you look at the options now. Alexandra's back from injury. He can play that role. Jamie Devitt's come in. We know he can play that role.
Yeah.
I think a drop to the bench for a little while, and you know,
it's one of those ones you look and you think he's still a fairly young lad. Mellish, was it 23?
23, 24,
23,
yeah.
something like that. I mean, you can still work on players' techniques at that age. It's not like they're the complete player. I've seen players early on in the career playing against us, playing a particular way, and then later in the career they look a completely different player. Surely they can go away and work and say, look, let's work. I mean, it sounds a bit embarrassing, but work on your first touch. Let's get that refined. Let's get it a bit improved. Let's work on, you know, softening your passing a little bit, because often he overhits passes or he tries a bit too much to put on it.
Yeah, although, I mean, Glenn Murray never really refined his technique. He went away and he made a career out of just being a kind of nuisance, you know.
I disagree with you to an extent on that. I think when you watch him in the Premier League compared to what he looked like for us in the
his touch improved. I'll give you that.
His all round the way he played was a lot better for me once he was a Premier League player, much better than it ever was when he was with us. So it can happen. There's opportunities to do it. So there's still plenty of time for him to improve. And like I said, I think for now, just take him out of the team and just take him out firing line.
For me, either play him up front or play him in 3. If you're not going to do either of them, just don't. You know, like you say, I'm a massive fan of his, but if you play him in the midfield too, you're not going to get the best out of him.
And you know what? Actually, having him on the bench to throw on for the last 20 minutes and cause a bit of chaos is not necessarily a bad thing. It's not a bad situation to have. Right, well, we'll talk about in terms of changes to the team in the preview section, guys, because we've run quite over there. So we'll get on now into the second half of the show. Just remind everyone you can subscribe to the podcast on all the good podcast apps, whether that's Acast, Spotify, Google Podcast. Mouthful that. Google Podcasts or Apple Podcasts. And you can leave us a review on some of those as well, especially Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That would be fantastic. And you can follow us on social media at Brunton Bugle on Twitter and Brunton Bugle on Facebook. As usual, the sponsor for the second half of the show is the Carlisle United Supporters Club London branch. The London branch is open to all Carlisle United fans. They've got members from Cornwall to Dundee and Houston to Singapore and, of course, every part of London and the South East. They regularly meet up on away trips as well as arranging many social events and supporters games and doing fundraising for the club. They'll be providing us with information about the away games as part of their preview section this season too. You can find out more about London Branch at their website, carlisle.londonbranch.org. And they've sent us in the pub for this weekend's game against Rochdale. Absolutely no surprise to anyone who's ever been to Rochdale away before. It's the Cemetery Inn. That's on Bury Road in Rochdale. OL 115EU. Anyone who's been to Rochdale away has almost certainly been in the cemetery at some point, haven't they, Dan? I think it's fair to say. Yeah. This weekend's game at the Crown Oil Arena, aka Spotland. That's terrible. Honestly, no ground outside the Premier League should be allowed to call their stadium an arena. Ridiculous. James Oldham from Derbyshire is the referee. It's his third season.
I thought we were going to do the quiz question.
Oh, sorry, we've got a quiz question. Yes, go on, Dan. You throw us a quick quiz question now, and we'll get it answered later on.
In my career, I played for Carlisle, Rochdale and Port Vale. Who am I?
Oh, that's a good question. There can't be... Oh, okay, we'll have a think about that one.
Yeah.
And we'll come back with that one. That's going to stump me. Oh, it's a good question. Right, okay, so James Oldham from Derbyshire, the referee for the Rochdale game. Third season as EFL referee. Taking charge of 21 games so far this season, handing out 81 yellow cards and 3 red cards. He last took charge of United for the 1-0 defeat to Sheffield United, actually, in the League Cup back in August this season. Head-to-head, we've played them 106 times, Rochdale. 44 wins for the Blues, 22 draws and 40 wins for Rochdale. Obviously, last season they were in League League One, relegated after 7 seasons in the third tier. This season, probably doing a little bit better than expected. I think it's fair to say, Mike. I know you've got a mate who's a Rochdale fan. I think a lot of people expect them to struggle, but they are down in the bottom half, but they're a little bit away from danger at the moment.
Yeah, well, I think one of you two predicted them to go down, and I think
it might be me, maybe. I can't remember.
Yeah. But I think, I didn't think that they'd be that bad, because that's the thing. You look at the squad on paper and you're questioning sort of, who's he? But their academy just churns out players who can just sort of do a job for them, which has been the case again this season.
Yeah. Manager is Robbie Stockdale, appointed last summer. He's got a contract till 2023. He's been previously caretaker of Grimsby and 3 times caretaker of Sunderland. There's a thankless task if you ever ask.
Rumoured to have been in the running for us.
A couple of times. Yeah, a couple of times. I think he did. I understand he was interviewed once, possibly. It might have been an early interview, but I'm pretty sure he was interviewed once for the job. Doing an all right job, I think it's fair to be said. You know, considering going into the last couple of weeks of pre-season, they only had about 8 or 9 players registered, didn't they?
They had a hard summer, didn't they, off the field?
Off the field, there's a lot of issues there. If anyone wants to know more about them, go back and listen to the Boxing Day preview episode we did, because we did a bit with the Rochdale fan there. We haven't got time to do that this week, by the way, because I've been ill. I've not been able to do the opposition podcast chat bit. But yeah, we had a chat with him before that game, and he was quite enlightening in terms of what had happened with them off the field, and it's a really interesting story, particularly how well a trust can do that sort of thing, wasn't it, Dan? I think it's fair to say. But yeah, so he's done pretty well, and had to contend with a few departures in January as well, which we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, I think they'll be quite happy with his first season as manager considering the circumstances. In midweek, they drew 1-1 with Colchester. Alan Judge's goal in this, you haven't seen it, absolutely spectacular. First time volley. Brilliant strike. It was Conor Grant that equalised for Rochdale in that game. Decent result for a midweek trip to Colchester, that one I think it's fair to say. Form table wise, 13th in the last 6 games with a record of lost, won, lost, and then 3 consecutive draws. So you can imagine what the result might be this weekend. Looking at their squad, Dan, I mean, it's looking better than it did last time we were supposed to be playing them at Boxing Day.
Yeah, there's no real standouts, is there?
No,
for me.
It's interesting because they've, in terms of,
you would have said Beasley, but obviously he's gone.
well, it's interesting because obviously Beasley left in January, and as did the other lad that you were talking about, Mike, recently, Aaron Morley, I think it was. He's gone to Bolton.
Yeah.
They got round about £500,000 for the two of them combined. They've invested it quite quickly, haven't they? They haven't messed about. They've brought in Tavon Campbell from Woking, who scored quite a few goals for them this season. He struggled previously when he's played in the FL, but it's a big chance for him. They've also signed Luke Charman from Darlington. I'm not sure in terms of what his goal scoring record was.
There was a whisper we were possibly watching him at one point.
Interesting one. And Solihull Moors defender Jimmy Ball as well. They've all three of those have signed for
That's a good
undisclosed
footballer's
fees.
name, isn't it?
Jimmy
Jimmy
Ball.
Ball.
Indeed it is, yeah. 1950s footballer, absolutely. But the one I think the fans are most excited about is Corey O'Keefe coming back, because he was on loan from Mansfield first half of the season, had a brilliant performances at right back for them. Went back to Mansfield after he was recalled from his loan. The fans were a bit gutted. Wasn't going to get game time in Mansfield. I think it was a bit of gamesmanship maybe by Mansfield, but he's gone to Rochdale on a free transfer, so they're pretty happy with that one. So, yeah, interesting. It's not, like I said, it's not a squad that's packed with bags of experience in there, really, but it looks like there's enough there to keep them away from trouble, doesn't it, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, one for me, and this will be interesting, like Liam Kelly, who sort of plays centre mid for them, he's only about 5'4". So Millen's comments about Joe Riley not winning headers in midfield, I think he'll struggle for excuses not to play him in this week. Although, given the injuries, it's hard to sort of pick a lineup, to be honest.
Well, I mean, yeah, we might as well touch on that now then. We'll get on to the United bit here, guys. Injury list grows by the week. As you said there, Kelvin Mellor, Callum Guy, Rod McDonald, Joel Senior and Gimme Torrey all unavailable due to injury. I don't think I've missed anyone off there, Dan, except your favourite person to mention each week.
Lucas Jensen is alive. He was on the bench for Burnley under-23s. I think it was Friday last week. I had a mate who went and watched them, and he texted saying, Lucas Jensen's on the bench. I'm like, what?
So it's presumably he's gone back.
No, still registered here.
It's farcical, that, isn't it? Just send him back.
Send him back, and he can go on loan to non-league to get some games.
Yeah, exactly. Although I think you have to do it during the transfer window, don't you? I'm sure.
Possibly, yeah.
Half season 1, 2. He might be a bit knackered, actually. Obviously, out on loan, we've got Tristan Abrahams, Taylor Charters, Lewis Bell, Josh Dixon, and now Manny Manpala. There's going to be changes, I thought we know that. What lineup would you pick, Dan?
I would go 4-4-2.
Yeah.
I would have Dennis and Shaw Silver up front.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick and Gibson wide. The middle, I really don't know. But I'll play Joe Riley at right back because he can get up and down, whereas Whelan doesn't get up and down as much. So I think Whelan may go as the defensive midfield. And it's who you put beside him. We still don't know how bad Guy is. If Guy is fit, he'll probably play beside Whelan. If he's not, you're probably looking at Divine.
Possibly. Although, he's barely featured recently, hasn't he?
Well, yeah, that's the thing,
Yeah. Well, what would you go with similar? I mean, defensively, I presume you'd have...
I wouldn't want to put Devitt in a 2.
Yeah, would you put Simiu and... what's his name? Feeney at centre-back, yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to.
Yeah.
The other option is Jack Armour can play right back.
True.
So, Armour could play right back and Roberts at left back, which would allow Riley to play in the middle, possibly.
Not a bad idea. What would you go for, Mike? Similar or?
Yeah, I mean, the injuries have really sort of limited us, really, and for me, it's the sort of Riley or Whelan. One of them has to play right back, and then the other has to play centre mid.
I agree with that.
Basically, so that's sort of the main decision to be made, I think. Yeah, it's tough, but it's who plays alongside. I think while we've just been saying that Mellish can't play in a 2, I think we don't have a lot of choice at the minute, and he might have to. I don't know.
I think if Mellish does play in a 2, assuming Guy's out, Divine would have every right to be knocking on the door saying, Why am I not playing?
No, I think you're right. I think you're right. Personally, I'd obviously stick with keeper. Right back, I think I'd agree with you, Dan. I'd probably play Riley there, or possibly Armour, because I think I don't think he's played particularly badly, but I think I'd probably throw in Mitch Roberts just to freshen things up a little bit. A left back. Centre backs obviously pick themselves. Midfield, again, like you, Gibson and Patrick on the wings. Centre mids, I'd go with Whelan, if not Riley there. And I think I'd put Devitt in there, to be honest, from the start and get 60 minutes out of him and then throw someone
Depends
on
his fitness, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He's had 3 or 4 off the bench for Barrow, so he's obviously getting back to fitness.
Yeah, I'd maybe give him his 60 minutes. Then you can bring on Mellish or you can bring on Riley if he's on the bench, maybe. And then up front, like I said, I'd go with Silva and Dennis, basically. A bit of a big man, not a little man, but, a couple of foils against each other, maybe. So that's what I'd go with.
You would like to think Shaw Silva, his hold-up play would bring in the likes of Patrick and Gibson from wide, or whoever does the more attacking midfield role.
I do wonder if that would work with Armour at right back as well, because we always remember how when he played those few games there, he was very good at getting down the wing and then sort of cutting inside and playing really good balls into the box as well. That really worked. So that might be a good option, possibly.
I think as well, sort of attacking wise, whatever we do pick, we'll certainly have options on the bench that can change the game. Which we haven't had for some time. Yeah,
definitely. Well, let's go to the Port Vale one now before we do all the predictions, guys.
Have you any ideas on my player yet?
I've been trying to think of it, but I can't. Off the top of my head, give us a little clue. Give us a clue as we're halfway through.
They also played for Scunthorpe during their career.
Okay, gonna have to have a think about that one even further. Right, who we got next? So Port Vale game midweek. Andrew Kitchen from Durham, he's the referee. It's his first season as an EFL referee, taking charge of 20 games, handing out 55 yellows and 2 red cards. Last took charge of United for the 1-0 defeat to Tranmere Rovers earlier this season. Seems years away that now, doesn't it? It's, Zach Clough was booked that day, that tells you how okay it was now. Head-to-head, surprised we've only played them 41 times in our history.
I thought we'd have played a bit more.
There's been long periods where we've been in completely different divisions away from each other. It's interesting that. 16 wins, 11 draws and 14 wins for Port Vale. Last season they finished 13th in League 2. They're currently 9th on 40 points, 13 positions and 13 points ahead of United, having played 2 games less. Their manager's Darryl Clark. Interesting one when he walked out on Walsall last season, wasn't it? I think everyone's a bit of a sideways step there, but it's looking a quite smart move now, isn't it? Because Walsall are struggling near the bottom, and Vale are in close contention for a playoff place.
Winning a couple of games in hands are banging there, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think he started off quite slowly at Port Vale, and they went on a really good run of form last season. Didn't start this season quite as well again, but they've picked up form again. Dropped off a little bit recently, but they're getting back towards it. Interestingly, he does work under a director of football, doesn't he? At Port Vale, David Flitcroft, the former Bury manager, is the director of football there. They seem to have a good understanding there, don't they? They seem to get on quite well. So I think they were appointed around about the same time, weren't they?
Yeah, that probably helped. Just after the window as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's got a few good honours in his career, and he's won back-to-back promotions with Bristol Rovers from the National League up to League One. Salisbury City did fairly similar with them from the Southern Football League up to the Conference, I think. So he's done a pretty good job in his career as a coach. Last time out, quite an impressive result for them, wasn't it, in midweek? 1-1 draw with Forest Green Rovers. Led from the 12th minute via Ryan Edmondson goal, but Rovers equalised in the 80th minute via Matt Stevens. Interesting they got Ryan Edmondson on loan from Leeds, isn't it?
Another player out on loan from Leeds who we've got a special relationship with.
Yes, of course, we have a special relationship with, yes.
It's that special, Leeds don't even know about it. Don't tell anyone! Don't tell anyone!
Incredible, isn't it? Looking at their squad, I look through their squad, and you know what? I think they're underachieving a bit, actually, when I look at it. There's loads of good League 2 quality in that squad, isn't there?
I think we all thought they'd do pretty well, didn't we, in the pre-season episode, I think?
Yeah, but even with recent additions and things like that, I think I look at that squad and think, they should be really in the playoffs challenging for a top 3 place, not 9th place right now. Maybe they've had a bit of bad luck with injuries, and of course they've brought a few in recently, but even so, Dan, I think there's some good quality in there, isn't there?
Yeah, there's one or two names stand out. A couple of familiar ones in Moo and Proctor. Edmondson, lots thought of him at Leeds. He hasn't really kicked on, but
yeah, I mean Jake Taylor they signed from Exeter, didn't they? I think he's a good player, and Harry Charlesley, he's recently signed from Mansfield.
David Waddle, everyone knows about, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, and Chris Hussey as well. I mean, he was fantastic for Cheltenham last season. I mean, to get him, really big signing. So yeah, no, very busy transfer window for them in January with all those players coming. Interesting departure though. Liam Legg left the club. He'd been there for years, hadn't he?
Yeah.
He went as part of the deal that brought Connor Hall from Harrogate to the club. And other than that, I think Danny Whitehead's left to Fylde and Devante Rodney to Walsall, the ones that stand out. Let's do some match predictions, guys. What are we going for then, Dan, over the two games?
I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw at Rochdale. I think it reeks of a 1-1 draw, and I'm going to go for Christian Dennis to get off the mark. And then I think we'll a 2-1 hard fought 2-1 win over Port Vale, and I'll go for Shaw Silver and Gibson's due a little return to form.
Okay, Mike, what are you going to go for?
I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw against Rochdale, because I think our defence will be a bit discombobulated, if you like. I know. And I'll go for Dennis to score one and Patrick to score the other in that one. And Port Vale, I will go for a 1-0 win with Dennis again.
Okay. I'm going to go for a 3-3 draw against Rochdale. I think it's going to be a balmy game, and suddenly we're going to discover the scoring form that we didn't know existed. Goal scorers, Dennis Silva and Jamie Devitt will come on late on, even though I predicted I think he
30-yard free kick into the top bin.
Absolutely, definitely, or at least a 30-yard strike
in the 91st minute, leading to exalted scenes down the sides.
Pitch invasions, all sorts. And midweek, I think a 1-0 win, and Dennis will get the winner against Port Vale. So there you go. Before we go to the X-Files, I don't have a clue on this player. I'm really struggling, Dan.
I'll give you a little more clue.
Yeah.
He's born in Middlesbrough and started his career at Bishop Auckland.
Ooh, I think I've got it, but I'm not going to say yet.
I haven't got a clue.
Right. Let's do the X-Files then, and when the X-Files are done, I'll have my guess.
I think you'll have got it off that bit, but yeah, not too many goals and cards this week. James Tavernier scored for Rangers in the 3-3 with Ross County. Andy Cook scored for Bradford in the 2-1 defeat to Crawley. Harry McCurdy scored in Swindon's 1-1 draw with Colchester. Aaron Hayden got another for Wrexham in the 1-1 with Maidenhead. Shamal George got a red card for Colchester in the game that Harry McCurdy scored in. Elliot Watt scored for Bradford in the 1-1 draw with Orient. I think that was one of the midweek games, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. And Kedwin Scott scored for Gateshead in a 1-1 draw at York.
All the 1-1 draws this week, isn't it?
Yeah. Up news, Rhys Bennett has left Gillingham and signed for Morecambe on a short term to the end of the season. Dean Furman joined Waddington Rylands on a free transfer after leaving Altrincham.
At the same level as Workington, aren't they? Yeah.
You can also catch Dean Furman on BBC AFCON coverage a bit still. There's a couple of games left in that. Kedwin Scott extended his contract at Gateshead for another year. Deadline day, late deal. Kyle Dempsey signed for Bolton from Gillingham for an undisclosed fee.
That was rumoured for a while, wasn't it, that one as well?
Bolton are going to do it again, aren't they? I think they're going on the run again. They've had a couple of good wins. They had a good win on...
made some midweek. Good signings as well, haven't they? Some smart
signings. Macaulay Gillespie was named in the League One Team of the Week. And Adam Murray will be leaving West Brom after Valérien Ismail received his marching orders after the drop in form.
There you go. Right, I'm going to have a guess, Dan. Is it Jeff Smith?
It is.
Yes. And as soon as he said Bishop Auckland,
I thought that would be the one.
Because he started his career there as well, didn't he? So
he only actually played one game for Rochdale.
Yeah.
When he was at Bolton, that was his big move, wasn't it? Bolton from Bishop Auckland. He went to Macclesfield on loan. And then in 2004, he went on loan 3 times in 3 months. He went to Scunthorpe for a month and played a game. Then he had 2 weeks at Rochdale, played a game. Then he went to Preston and came off the bench 5 times. And then he got his move to Port Vale for 2.5 years before he signed for us for 2.5 years.
Paid 65 grand for him, something like that, didn't we? I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. He was a postman, wasn't he? I think when he was at Bishop Auckland or somewhere like that, wasn't he? I think he was actually that's always his job.
He was 20-year-old. He was 20-year-old. Oh, it's shocking. 20-year-old when he signed for Bolton. So yeah. He wanted to put his stamp onto the game, didn't he?
Right, that, quite frankly, is enough. Right, I think we've done enough for this week then, lads, especially after those jokes. Thanks once again to our sponsors, the London branch. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back next week to preview the Colchester game, a game that I don't think any of us are going to, are we? You were thinking about it, Mike, weren't you? Because it's your week off, weren't you?
Yeah, but it's like rail replacement buses on... so it's just
Don't bother. It's one of the worst away days going, and I say with the greatest respect to the Colchester fans there, but it's just dreadful. But there you go. Right, well that does it then, lads. Thanks once again for joining me. Here's to hopefully the new lads reviving the squad and getting us moving up the table. Thanks everyone for listening, and up the Blues.
Up the Blues.
The Blues.